All right, everyone. So we have a lot of stuff to get into about this new fusion, so let's get right to it. And what I wanted to do today is explain some really important hidden information about the fusion itself, as well as just general things about it that you're going to want to know. So I had a quick overview. I wanted to go over the drop rate of actually getting Skull Sworns, the energy cost that you're looking at to get not only one Skull Sworn, but all 16 of them that you're going to need for the fusion. Really importantly, talk about the XP differences between Chapter 12, which is where people normally farm, as well as Chapter 2, which is where you're going to need to farm for the fusion. So what are you really going to be giving up in order to actually go for this fusion? Go over the best stage to farm and how to farm it properly, as well as at the end, a little bit of information about this gift that we have coming from Polarium as well. So let's take a look at the in-game news here really quickly, because we do have the information available to us right here at the top. Lizardmen assemble. So here we go. The army of Lizardmen is anxious in anticipation of their leader's arrival. The time has come for his army of warriors to pay their final respects, the ultimate sacrifice in his honor. Skull Lord var-gall is a brand new defense champion with a very unique fusion requirement. The mighty beast will be available for fusion from April 8th to April 30th. Skull Lord var-gall must be fused from 4 drakes. Drakes can now be fused from 4 Skull Sworns who drop from the sewers of Arnoc. Attention, you can only fuse 4 drakes. So that's kind of important, because I was thinking to myself, you know what? Might not be a bad time if you don't have drakes somehow, whether you're going for this fusion or not, might not be a bad time to pick up an extra one, but it will stop you when you actually try to fuse a total of 4 drakes. So if you guys are not going for this fusion though, and you don't have a drake, also going to be an opportunity to just farm out 4 Skull Sworns in total instead of 16 to get yourself a drake. So that's an alternative option available for you. Champion details here. Note, fusion starts and finishes for everyone at the same time in game. Make sure you plan accordingly. Check the fusion window to see exactly what time it runs in your local time zone. So that's it. We don't have a crazy calendar for this one because, well, there's no list of events. It's just farming out the sewers of Arnoc, which is Chapter 2 in the campaign. And if you go to the actual portal here, you go to fusion, you will see it that it is live in-game right here. This is absolutely crazy. It is definitely a late April Fool's joke that actually turned into a real fusion. So 16 Skull Sworns is what you are looking at in order to complete this fusion. So let's get into some of that important information. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the really big one here, and that is the drop rate. Well, I will tell you guys that there is no 100% confirmed drop rate in terms of that information coming from Polarium themselves. They have not released the actual numbers. However, we have a very good understanding of what the drop rates are just based off of data that has been collected by people playing the game and farming themselves for a very long time. However, these are not 100% official numbers, and you will find through various people that they are slightly different, but they are all very close. And what I have gathered from multiple people, multiple data sources, not only just thousands, but tens of thousands of runs worth of drops, is that you are looking at a drop rate of approximately 2% on Brutal. Now again, that's just an approximation, and it's not the 100% official number from Polarium, because they have not and will not be releasing that number. So could be a little bit higher, could be a little bit lower, but it is approximately 2%. It also is lower on hard and normal. So for this fusion, you are going to want to try to farm Brutal if possible, and definitely stay away from Nightmare. Now, yes, the Nightmare drop rate will be a little bit higher, but remember that the energy jump from Brutal to Nightmare goes from 8 energy all the way up to 16, which is crazy. That's a double energy jump, whereas from normal to hard, it goes 4 to 6. Hard to Brutal, it goes 6 to 8. So much lower, and Brutal is kind of going to be that sweet spot. Now, even though the drop rate is 2%, it's really important to know that it can be difficult for you to feel like that's the drop rate just based off of, you know, a few runs or even a few hundred runs. It's really easy to go several hundred runs and not get any drops at all. You really have to go not only thousands, but tens of thousands of runs to really get a decent sense of this drop rate kind of coming together. So keep that in mind. You know, when you go on these really big dry streaks, that is 100% normal. I myself am on a crazy dry streak right now, just going for my first Skull Sword, and it's crazy to believe, but then I'll go through and I'll read, and people will have gotten 3 Skull Sword drops in 30 runs. So at an approximation, though, this is what you are looking at. So now that we know that, let's actually do some calculations here and figure out approximately how much energy you are going to need in order to farm out all 16 skull swords. Now, for these calculations, I'm actually going to not use the number 2%, but I'm going to use the number 1.5% because I want this to be a conservative calculation so that if you have this amount of energy, you are very likely to be able to complete this fusion. If I use 2%, then there's going to be a whole bunch of people who watch this video who get unlucky and they're going to be below the 2% drop rate, and then the energy numbers that I use, they're going to go through all that energy and they're still not going to be completed. So that's why I'm going to use a bit lower number, and we're going to go with 1.5%, so an extremely conservative drop rate for Skullsworn on Brutal. And to calculate this, quite simply here, using 1.5% as the drop rate, you're looking at approximately 67 runs of the Sewers of Arnoc per Skullsworn drop at a cost of 8 energy per run. You're looking at 532 energy approximately for each Skullsworn drop, which gives you a total energy that you need in order to get your 16 Skullsworn drops of about 8,512. Now, that's an approximation. That's a relatively conservative number, so most people who go for this fusion should be able to get all 16 of their Skullsworn drops in under 8,500 energy. Now, if it takes you more than that, unfortunately, you are very, very unlucky because I'm even using that conservative drop rate of 1.5%. Now, another really important note about this number, not only if you are really unlucky, might it take you more energy, but keep in mind that this energy does not account for leveling up the Skullsworns that you get. And then if you don't have the Ascension Potions, you need to go and farm those. And then you need to work on the actual Drakes themselves for the fusion, level up and ascend those. So that's going to take a decent amount of energy as well. That 8,500 is just the conservative approximation in order to get the 16 Skullsworns to actually drop themselves. So now that we have all that information out of the way, I wanted to touch on an incredibly important topic that I don't think a lot of people have really talked about, and that is, what are you really giving up going for this fusion? Because Chapter 2 in the campaign is very interesting because in the lower stages of the campaign, you get way less experience than in the higher stages of the campaign. So most people, when they are farming for experience, they are, of course, going to be doing, Brimstone Path, because this is going to be the best experience and also the best silver per energy ratio. And with the available experience boosts that we have right now, what I decided to do is I went through and I did a run of Stage 6, and you guys will see why I decided to do Stage 6 instead of Stage 3 for this one here. And went through with just, my farming champion and then 3 food champions. And I found that with the experience boost that I have, now keep in mind, of course, if you don't have these exact experience boosts, the numbers will be different, but the percentages will still be the same. I got 10,560 experience per food champion. Now, when you actually go to the second stage of the campaign, or Sewers of Arnoc here, and you farm Stage 6, same thing here, except in Chapter 2 instead of in Chapter 12, the experience difference is way, way less. Instead of 10,560 per food, same thing with 1 main champion to farm it out and then 3 food champions, I'm only getting 5,760 experience per food. So you're actually losing out on about 4,800 experience. Now, again, it might be a bit different if you have different experience boosts, but that percentage of about 45% less experience per run is going to be the same regardless of what experience boosts you use. So you're looking at about half as much experience, a little bit more, but pretty close. So you are still getting some experience, and you still can use this fusion to farm out food, but you're getting almost half less of the actual efficiency per energy spent. So you have to keep that in mind. Even though this fusion is going to cost, around 8,500 was that conservative estimate, a good amount of that you are going to spend, or you're going to be working on food anyway. So, it still takes a lot of extra energy to go out of your way to farm the Sewers of Arnoc, specifically for the Skullsworns, but you're still going to get a decent amount of experience leveling up champions for food and working on that stuff, which you're going to have to just do as part of the game anyway. So I thought those were some important numbers to kind of know, to get a comparison of what you're going to be farming now versus what you were farming before. So now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about the actual best stage in the Sewers of Arnoc to go and farm. Now, really, really, really important note about this, and you can actually use this to your advantage in many different ways, is that the Sewers of Arnoc, Chapter 2, even on Brutal, is way easier than what you were probably normally farming, which is the Brimstone Path. You can see here that the enemies are, you know, high 70s, low 80s, but when you go back to the Sewers of Arnoc, you're looking at, you know, high 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on and so forth. So much easier to farm out this chapter, and that means that you can really change up your farming strategies quite a bit. So you might even realize that if you are struggling with your campaign farmer in the Brimstone Path, especially newer players, you might have a much easier time farming the Sewers of Arnoc because it is a much earlier stage. So you can actually mix it up and farm this a little bit differently. So what you can actually do is you can actually farm. You don't have to use like your main farmer here like you were for, you know, Brimstone Path. If you have a champion that's like really high level, if you're working on other champions that are leveling up, if they can farm and complete the actual stage, it might actually be worth it, because in that sense you can get experience on all 4 of your champions instead of just on 3 of them. Because remember, every maximum level champion that you actually use, you are losing out experience. But if I were to, you know, let's just pretend that let's see here, who's the level? Let me try to find a champion that I need to level. All right, so this Warlord here, let's just pretend that he's level 50 and he's 6-star and he can get 10 more levels. You know, if I can farm this out and my Warlord can actually kill everything, then I can get experience on all 4 of my guys instead of having it go to waste on a max level. Or if you can't do this on Brutal, maybe step it down to Hard. And then, you know, kind of change about your farming strategy to min-max the amount of experience that you get. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about this specifically. All I'm saying is just keep in mind that the fact that this is a lot easier definitely opens up different ways to go about farming. Now, the other thing as well, and why I did the boots as my example instead of stage 3, which is what I normally farm, is because the artifacts that drop from the Sewers of Arnoc are not going to sell for as much silver. So it might be worth considering farming stage 6 above stage 3. Now, the reason why I like to farm stage 3 when it comes to Brimstone Path is because these artifacts, the curing ones, sell for a decent amount of silver. So, you know, in a lot of cases, I'd rather have that extra bit of silver rather than that tiny little bit of extra experience that I would get from farming stage 6. But with Sewers of Arnoc, that's not the case. So, you know, maybe it's worth changing up your farming strategy in that sense. If you're a newer player as well, you know, you can actually get some okay, you know, it's still very introductory, very preliminary gear, but it's, you know, really a big note to those of you guys who are newer. Maybe keep an eye on, like, if you get 5-star boots that are speed, you know, maybe roll the first stat and see if it's something decent like crit rate, and there's a possibility to get some of that early introductory gear. Again, those of you guys who are mid and late game players, it's still all going to be instantly sold, but something to keep in mind. Whereas the curing gear, when you're farming Brimstone Path, nobody really uses the curing set, so nobody even ever takes a second look at any of this gear right here. So that's the information that I really wanted to share with you guys that you want to be aware of when it comes to this fusion. Besides that, it's going to be a big grind. You know, let me know what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about this crazy fusion? Very interesting. Again, a little bit of a late April Fool's joke. And, you know, how many of you guys are actually going to be going for it versus how many of you guys are going to be skipping it? And also, very importantly, when you guys do get all of your Skull Sworns and complete the fusion, let me know, even if it's not in this video, let me know in the future how much energy it did actually take you, because I'm really interested to see kind of how it compares to that conservative estimate of about 8,500 that I calculated earlier on. Alright, and now there's a couple of other important notes before ending off the video that I wanted to touch up on, and one of them has to do with the Battle Pass. Now, unfortunately, there's nothing I could really do. I wanted to make a video last night. I made a community post, but the thing is, the Battle Pass expired so quickly afterwards that it just wasn't worth it, because the information that I would put out about it would just be completely invalidated even right now, because the Battle Pass is gone, and it turns out that my crazy tinfoil hat theory from a couple of days ago, where I was wondering, why is there such a long gap in between Battle Pass Season 1 and Battle Pass Season 2? It seems really strange. Does it have to do with some big event or big fusion that they're coming out with? Maybe they don't want people to actually have the Battle Pass XP boost, and it actually makes complete sense. It all seems to be coming into place, and now that we have this crazy fusion, people are going to have to spend a lot of time actually going through and farming in the Sewers of Arnoc, And unfortunately, because we don't have that battle pass anymore, even if you paid for it and you got to level 100 and you had all those experience boosts, you're not able to take advantage of them anymore. So I don't really know how to feel about this. It seems a little bit weird. It's just, I don't know. But I thought it was worth mentioning, and unfortunately, you know, that's just one disadvantage to having that 1 month gap between Battle Pass Season 1 and Season 2. And the last thing that I wanted to end off the video with is a note about that free gift that we have been hearing about. Another quarantine gift. Is it going to be 2,000 energy? Well, we don't know for sure. I thought we were going to be getting it today, but we now have confirmation from the Diamond on Discord, who is indeed a Polarium contact, that we are going to be getting the gift on Friday. So I'm hoping that it's a good amount of energy because we really need it for this fusion. And we'll just have to wait and see what it is. But keep your eyes on your inbox for that one right there. That's going to be it for the video, though. I shared a lot of information today, so I'm going to leave it here before we get, you know, too crazy. And, you know, if you guys enjoyed this video and you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel if you want to help out, and leave a quick like as well. It means more than you can imagine, so thank you very much to all of you who decide to do that. Huge thank you to all the new subscribers. We just hit 37,000, so thank you very much, getting really close to 40,000. And more Raid Shadow Legends videos, guides, tutorials, and all that fun stuff should be popping up on the screen right about now. Feel free to check them out. Over 200 raid videos on the channel. But if not, until next time, have a great day, everyone. Take care. And this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.